I'm Tana Morton, and I'm going to tell you about Weber Shandwick for my final presentation. So they were started in 2001. Their main focus as far as their company is on interaction. So from their website to their campaigns, you can definitely see this through and through. They really like for the consumer or the viewer of the campaign to feel the interaction and to really feel the emotion in the campaign and not just hear words or have their attention grabbed or anything like that. They like to leave a long-lasting impression. Their executive team is Jack Leslie, their chairman, Andy Polinsky, the CEO, and then Gail Heeman, the president. And they actually have a pretty diverse group of executives. Those are just some of the higher up or more notable ones. So they have a really large portfolio of clients. Some of the notable ones are ExxonMobil, Bank of America, and Royal Caribbean. However, their portfolio, like I said, is really large, so it kind of stretches from cruise lines to more pro-social things like AIDS awareness. So the topics of the companies, everything is very diverse. So their portfolio is really large. So some characteristics that help to make the company stand out. The first one is, like I said, engagement and not just broadcasting a view or a stance or a company or anything like that. So they really work hard to make sure that you feel the emotions that you think about that type of event, or if it's the company, or if it's a stance or something like AIDS awareness, that you're really thinking about that for longer than just the length of the video or the article that you're reading or the poster that you see. They really want you to feel that emotion and continue to feel that emotion, kind of carry that with you. So they really stick to some PR values that they feel like are important, and those are engagement, respect, inclusion, and truth. And they list these on their website as values that they carry on throughout their company and through their campaigns. So they offer a lot of the services that many normal PR firms do. So crisis management, brand management, employee engagement, as well as some others. But something that I feel like is very interesting and important to mention is their Firebell software. So this is a training-based software that Weber Shandwick will come in and they kind of train the employees on how to deal with crisis management. So this is a real time, it is virtual, so it's not actually happening, but they'll stage, according to the organization or the company that they're training at the time, they'll stage some sort of crisis within the software, and then they go in and they really make sure that you're handling it right. So whether it's in social media or a review or a press release, anything like that that's online, they go in and they have virtual antagonists and virtual advocates for your company, and they help to get you to interact with them. So it is a software where these people would be commenting or talking to them, and you would be able to talk back. And so you really get to get really good training on this type of situation. So that was something that I found was not only really interesting, but something that a lot of other PR firms did not offer to the companies that they represent. So some of their financial data, their global revenue for last year was $800 million, and then their US revenue was just under $500 million. So they are in the middle area of a larger PR firm. Like I said, they are a larger PR firm, so they are leading as far as creativity and the reach of their campaigns, but financially they are about in the middle of larger PR firms. So a couple of examples of the campaigns that I've been talking about. We're talking about two today. The first one, they were approached by an organization named Save the Children. So this is a non-governmental organization that helps to advocate for children's rights and resources. And so during this time, Save the Children kind of gathered some statistics that showed how poverty childhood pregnancy, violence, any type of adversity that a child would face, how that kind of affects them in growing up too quickly, and how growing up too quickly can affect the rest of their life. And so they gave this information to Weber Shandwick, and they asked them to create a campaign. And so they came up with Unboxing the End of Childhood. So they took the they took the craze online from YouTube and from Facebook of the unboxing videos, where you get a box, or a box or a toy or anything like that, you unbox it, you show it to the camera. So they gave these children boxes of what looked like toys, and the child would unbox it, and instead of a baby doll, they would find a positive pregnancy test, or instead of a Nerf gun, they would find a pickaxe. And so this was there to represent the real adversities that children face, and how that is affecting them as far as having to grow up quicker than a normal child would. So they showed these on YouTube and on Facebook, in the same places where you would find the regular unboxing videos. And this actually gave some really good opportunity for them to reach the consumer, because their guard was down. They weren't necessarily expecting it, but it really gave them a lot of good reach. I thought that this was really interesting, because as a PR firm, it definitely wasn't a safe option, but they were really bold and could even have been seen as controversial. And so because of this shock factor, the awareness definitely was there, and it stuck with the consumer. And so this was a very successful campaign. So the next one that we'll talk about was called the 72-hour cabin. So Visit Sweden came to them, and they realized that they were having a lack in tourism, and especially compared to a lot of the countries around Sweden. And so they came to them and they asked them to create a campaign, and Weber Shandwick did. They came up with the 72-hour cabin, where they built a glass cabin in the deep woods of Sweden, and they took 3 people out there. And they happened to have 3 of the most stressful jobs in Sweden at the time. And so they took them out there, they tested their stress levels, and then they allowed them to stay there for 72 hours. So they allowed them to do a lot of the more traditional Swedish activities like fishing, swimming, visiting waterfalls. And then after the 72 hours, they came back and they tested their stress and blood pressure levels, and found that they had a 70% reduction from spending that time away, unplugged from Wi-Fi, cell phones, all of the digital hustle and bustle of normal life. And so they took and they aired this campaign. They gave flyers and all of this different types of avenues, and they found that they actually reached 700 million people. So this was very successful, and I thought that it was really creative. So a lot of these tourism campaigns, if you see, Visit Los Angeles or Dallas or anything like that, it's very focused on the attractions that they offer. So the nice fancy restaurants, or the cool theaters, or the fun art galleries, or things like that. But instead, this really stuck out because they focused on nature and things that people actually could not get. Anybody can go try to get a restaurant to come into their city or country, but they focused on something that you really couldn't get, and it was Swedish activities, Swedish soil, Swedish, nature, and all of that. So I thought that it was really interesting, very creative, and it stuck out compared to a lot of the other campaigns because it was so different and definitely more focused on relaxation and not attraction. So looking at those 2 campaigns and the company, I found that one word really stuck out to me when researching the company, and that was purpose. Everything that the company did, from the employees that they hire to the types of campaigns that they do, the message that they use, all of it was very purposeful, it was very calculated, and nothing was done haphazardly or without major thought. One example of this would be the equal number of men and women that they have as executives. So there is exactly the same amount of women as there are men in the executive teams. which I thought was really, really interesting, and as a woman, very encouraging. I think that this helped the employees actually feel more encouraged, and the men and women to realize that they weren't worried about anything other than how hard they're working and how much effort they're putting into the job, that there's really not a cap on how high they can excel within Weber Shandwick. I thought that that was really interesting, surprising. I really enjoyed learning that about them. Something else that I thought was really interesting was that they seem to be risk takers. So from the campaigns that I showed you, and then others, it seemed like they weren't afraid of taking a stance and having a little shock factor, which I think is pretty unique in a PR firm, because so many times you see PR firms that are very vanilla, if you will, or just a lot more safe and neutral. And instead, Weber Shandwick really saw these opportunities to take a stance of not only what they believe in as a company, but just a campaign where people took that emotion that they felt from that and carried it away, instead of just kind of leaving it wherever they saw it. And I thought that that was really interesting. I thought that it was really cool that I felt like they were not afraid to take some risks and to say, hey, we feel this way, and that's okay. I thought it was also really cool that they were pretty current with pop culture. This is obviously very normal for a PR company to be current, but I thought that it was really interesting that they tried to tie the pop culture into a lot of their campaigns. I thought that it definitely made the success of the campaign and helped with the awareness of it, because it was placed in different areas where normal campaigns wouldn't be placed, and so it also helped to reach people when they didn't have a guard up and they didn't think that you were trying to talk them into something or into feeling a certain way or into remembering a certain company. They felt like they were reaching into them, not trying to shape who the consumer was. And I thought that helped them to be successful. And then the other thing is that I thought was interesting and surprising was the types of awards that they had won. So they have won a lot of advertising awards. They have been nominated for a lot of advertising awards, and as an advertising student, I thought that this was very interesting. I thought that this was just kind of a testament to how creative and how well executed and thought out and purposeful their campaigns were. I thought that this showed that they weren't just looking for a cause or a press release or something like that. They really were being creative. They were trying really hard to be, like I said, purposeful with their ads. So I thought that was really interesting. I really enjoyed the opportunity to get to see and feel these different things from a PR firm, a PR agency, and I definitely think that this has changed a lot of my views on how an agency should be or even could be. So it gives me a lot of hope for what I could do and possibly even wanting to work in an agency.